What's up, guys? You're tuned to the Inside Scoop with Taquan Marshall and Brandon Carter. We have a special guest today, Haley Clark, University of Georgia. Thanks for being here. Thanks for coming out.
No problem.
So, I personally don't know much about you. Shout out to Mackenzie Ingram for letting me know that you will be able to come out and do this today. We definitely appreciate it. But something I want to touch on today was the gender pay gap between pro women's sports and pro men's sports. And I know that you are now working in the business realm of things. And that transition from being a student athlete to where you're at now, how did you kind of go about that? I know earlier we were discussing that you don't miss it as much as the next person does. Why is that?
Yeah. I would say one, because ultimately you can't play forever. Like for me, like growing up, my dream was always to go play overseas. It was like, when you're little, the WNBA don't make no money. Like, that when you're little. So it's like, all the money overseas, I want to go play overseas and be a pro. So came to college, got through college. Y'all played sports. It's a roller coaster. It's up and down. You know what I'm saying?
I dabbled in a little sports in college too, here and there.
It's a good journey, but it's up and down. So like by the time like my junior year hit, I was like, all right, the game is my life. I still love the game. Like I got passion for the game, but like at the same time, like I want something different for my life. Like I can't play forever. I know I can't play forever, and I'm trying to make some money. You feel me?
Right.
So basically going into my junior year, I made that decision, and I kind of had to start focusing like, okay, well, outside of basketball, my career, graduated early, started my master's, and then started like looking into my career. So then ultimately my last year, I did really good academically, got a lot of academic accolades, SEC Scholar of the Year, Arthur Ashe National Award Winner of the Year. So like the block was hot, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So like my resume were going out, all these things on my resume, people contacting people for me, and then opportunities started to come. So it was the decision of, well, do you want to go play professionally and ultimately have like that 3, 4, 5-year career, make a little bit of money overseas, or start your career while your name is hot,
right,
and get going? Because ultimately you got to come back and start eventually. And then you behind the curve. So it was a hard decision to make, but that's how I kind of got into it. So that's why I told you I miss it sometimes, but like I don't regret my decision altogether.
Yeah, but like, so that I see that as a trend for female athletes that play basketball. Their goals and ambitions are geared towards overseas as opposed to the WNBA. Now, why? I'm not very familiar with why the business overseas-wise is so much more predominantly over the WNBA. Why is it like that?
Yeah, that's a good question. This, you might have to fact check me, but unless you're like Maya Moore, Candace Parker, Skylar Diggins getting paid, Brittany Griner getting paid off of endorsements,
right,
the average WNBA player makes a teacher's salary. Yeah, a teacher's salary.
And how many games do they play a season?
I don't know. You might have to look that up and throw that in there. But, I mean, it is 8 months, so you're making a teacher's salary in 8 months, but, like, still, it's a teacher's salary. Like, I got some homegirls who were in the league. Some of them got cut now, but, like, they looking for side gigs, side hustles. Like, right. you a whole pro. Ain't no NBA players out here looking for side hustles unless it's for shits and giggles. Can I curse on here?
Yeah.
Y'all can block that.
It's all good.
Unless it's just for fun, you know what I'm saying? But overseas, that's where the money is. I'm not sure why that is. But places like Russia, Turkey, y'all know Russia paid Diana Taurasi one year like triple, quadruple what she was making in the WNBA not to play, so that she could be fresh for their season. So she sat out a whole year. But I don't know. That's where the money is. They like women's basketball over there. I'm not quite sure what it is, but that's where the money is at for sure.
So you touched on this a little bit. You said your junior year, that's when you really kind of honed in on what you wanted to do. Like you kind of knew you weren't going to go the professional route. Like you were still thinking about it, but then you really honed in on like your academics and things of that sort. So let's talk about freshman and sophomore year. Like, what was the academics like? Were you like really still focused on academics, or was it like, I'm gonna go pro, so like academics is still there, but it's kind of on the back burner? Not saying you were making bad academic decisions, but like, where was your mindset freshman and sophomore year compared to your junior year?
So I'm sure y'all noticed, like, when you play at a big D1 school, like, they say you're a student athlete, but in reality, you are an athlete student. You're an athlete first and a student. But they like to tell
that's
people.
True.
Like,
that's true.
That's what you tell people. But so, like,
sounds better that way, right?
Yeah, that's how they got to make it sound. But, like, my freshman and sophomore year, I was very good academically just because that's how I was brought up. So, like, my academics were fine. Like, I was on all my work, still had really good grades. But once my mindset changed my junior year, it wasn't more so academics that elevated. It was more so personal and career development that I had to get into. Like, how do you do an interview? Like, what's on my resume? Like, what network am I building? Because it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. Like the career. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Like
we touched on that.
Like the career development part. So my academics were always to par. So that was fine. It was just like getting myself ready to be a professional outside of athletics. That's kind of where I had to like pick it up and be like,
yeah, okay. and it's crazy because I was kind of the same way. Like my freshman and sophomore year, like you said, I mean, you're really focused on that athletic part of things because you're still trying to develop a little bit. You're still working on your game, things of that sort. So of course you're still paying attention to the academics, but at the same time you're like, you know what I'm saying, athletics is first for me. Like I'm really trying to grind out here. I'm trying to make it to the, you know what I'm saying, the next level. And you don't really focus on the professional side outside of your sport. And I think that's one of the things that kind of hit me too going into my junior year. And it's crazy how it's always like everyone's junior year when you realize that, like, okay, I only have one more year. I really need to start figuring things out. And for me, it was my junior year as well when I really was like, wow, I only have one more year left. I really need to figure out exactly what I'm going to do that's not pertaining to football. So,
yeah, for sure. And some people, they don't even like figure it out until they graduate. They out here graduated, and
that's the toughest part too, because really, when you graduate, it's kind of late, like, too late. Not just late; it's too late. Then you're really trying to catch up to everyone that's been doing this since maybe sophomore year, even junior year. I mean, you're still not too far behind junior year, but you're far enough behind where you're really trying to run and catch up.
Yeah, because you got to think about, like, the regular average student, like, they not out here playing sports. Like, they out here looking for jobs their sophomore year. They're doing internships their sophomore year. They're building their resume. They're doing all this different stuff. So you already behind the curve a little bit. So.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's who we competing with in the corporate world and then outside of athletics. So.
But like, see, that's why I think that fair pay to play bill will be valuable to athletes all across the board. Like we've been seeing on the media a lot,
that's
just talking about which is now Florida is talking about it now as well. But I think it can help across the board. Like the media is definitely focusing on football the most. But I feel like with females and women's sports, that can help as well because we see now, what's those two girls' names? They're very pretty. I think they played for
Dill and Dakota that played for Kansas.
Like you see a transition of a lot of these female athletes, using social media as kind of their platform to pivot and create their brand that way. Like they can care less about if they get drafted by the NBA, like by the Atlanta Dream, because they can just go off, use the thousands and millions of followers they have
and make twice as much.
Make twice as much and do that. So with their likeness in that aspect, granted, if you're attractive to whomever, you could that's a avenue for women to make money taking that route as well. Yeah. But I haven't seen anything talking about that on the news. I guess because not a lot of light is shed on, the pay gap that we're seeing right now. And I've always thought, I've kind of been naive to the entire fact. If you look at a WNBA game and it's not your average Skylar Diggins or those top stars.
Candace Parker.
Yeah, the games are, they look like this room we're sitting in. It's hard to get fans out there because they see it not as, unless you're a family member, they don't see it as exciting as men's basketball or things like in that sport.
Yeah.
So,
and I think the WNBA, I think they're aware of it. I don't know if y'all know about this, but like a couple of years ago, I think it was like maybe 2-3 years ago, they were discussing like lowering the rims so that females could dunk, so that they could get more fans.
Really?
Like
that
bringing
wouldn't be a
in,
bad idea.
yeah, like changing like the size of the court or like the lines, like 3-point lines. But I definitely remember lowering the rim was one that everybody was talking about. But then like that trickles down to college. So it's like, well, at the pro level, if they lower the rims, at college we gotta lower the rims, in high school we gotta lower the rims, because you can't be playing in college at 10-foot rims, but then people get to the next level, you playing at 8-foot rims. But I think the pay gap is so prominent because we don't have the fan base. If you don't have the fan base, you don't have the money.
Right. But
You know what I'm saying?
how do you game that? Like, it's like you can't persuade excitement. It's just either exciting to someone or it's not.
Yes,
and
they are
so
not.
how do you it's hard to incentivize that we should be, let me see how I should say this. It's hard to tell people that the things that we're doing in our realm is the same that you see from LeBron and Westbrook, because it's not.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's not. But there are a lot of exciting aspects of women's basketball that people don't shed a lot of light on.
Yeah, I think it goes back to like, I mean, if we being real, like society and like sexism, whether or not it's there or not, like you have to acknowledge that, okay, well, a lot of people don't like watching women's basketball. Why? 1, because they can't dunk. Okay. 2, they're not as fast. But like, if it's people who really know the game, like Kobe,
right.
you talk to Kobe, you talk to LeBron, CP3. These people are sitting on the sidelines at women's basketball games because they know we got the fundamentals.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, they're like, yeah, females, they do. KD, they're like, females, they got the fundamentals down more than we do. You know what I'm saying? That's the exciting part of it. So it's just more so of like people having that perspective of, well, females aren't athletic, so it's not exciting to me. Well, do you like basketball or not? Because if you come in to see good basketball, you're going to come see good basketball.
Yeah, because a lot of NBA players, their athleticism can make up for the talent that they lack.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are just looking on the outside and not really focusing on exactly what's going on. Like, of course, when everyone looks at an NBA game, they're not really, you don't have to really know basketball. You just know, okay, there's some good players on the court.
Yeah.
I know there's going to be an alley-oop here. I know there's going to be a dunk here. I know somebody's going to be shooting from half court here.
Yeah.
Like, and 9 times out of 10, you're not really going to see that in a WNBA game. But at the same time, like you were stating, and I've noticed it, and I don't even really play basketball, but like watching men's, like fundamentally, is completely different than it is if I've seen a WNBA game, because I mean, everything is just so technical. Like, even from, a reverse layup, just stuff like that. It's not as fancy because it's so fundamental. Yeah. Like, when you come to a men's game, it's just...
Right, you expecting the fillet, all this kind of stuff.
The jelly layup.
Yeah.
Hold on, we got jelly layups now, too. Don't do us like that.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just not as... Like, y'all are more fundamental because y'all aren't trying to be as flashy. Like, I feel like everything within the men's game is just trying to be so much more flashy just because, like, they know they can do it because it's going to bring in more people.
Because all in all, it is a business of entertainment.
Yeah.
So that's going to come with compensation. The more entertaining you are, the more viewers, the more fans, and ultimately more money. So,
but that's what it is. I think it's on the personally, I think it's on the WNBA to figure out how to make the game more exciting. Like, be creative. Like, you know what you're working with. We're working with fundamentals, and we're working with girls who aren't as athletic as men, but what can you bring to the table to get fans in that the NBA, isn't doing? So like, okay, well, you got the option to go to an NBA game in the fall, and you got the option to go to WNBA games in the summer. Like, why would I come see a WNBA game? Like, if I want to see athleticism and dunking, like they got to give the fans something else to come see. That's sad to say, but that is what it is if they want to close the pay gap.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's something they could work on. I mean, obviously, I'm pretty sure they're probably working on some things now, but they're not really putting their foot on somebody's throat to do that. So, but I definitely think, like you said, that's something that they should probably look into more and like take more time and initiative to actually, not just talk about it, but put it into action. Because I mean, everybody can talk about, hey, we want to do this, we want to do that to try to bring more of a fan base, but if we're just talking about it, then we're just talking about it. Like nothing's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But if they start trying to put it into action, actually showing people, they're making an effort to try to change the game, I think that's how they're gonna be able to draw more of a fan base in to maybe decrease that pay gap that's happening.
Yeah, but also like what I mentioned earlier about like sexism, like, I mean, it's a harsh word to use, but I think sometimes it's even subtle, like subconsciously people are sometimes sexist. It's like, well, some people look down on females, so it's like, well, I'm not trying to go see no girls hoop. Like, what I want to go see girls hoop for? You know what I'm saying? So it's difficult to change people's perspective and change people's minds as well. Because I know they reach out, they do things in the communities to get the community involved, like give like tickets to the games for like kids. They do like family nights, like college nights. It's like they're doing some stuff, but like, I mean, it's tough. Like you're saying, they got to do more.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking about lowering the rims. That is actually a good idea, being that females aren't
Can't jump as
as
high.
athletic. Yeah, they aren't as athletic as men. So if you were to lower those rims, they would definitely have to plan out those different stipulations from high school up to college to the WNBA. But I mean, the court size already changes. So making the changes, I personally don't think would be as hard, and it could definitely have a big impact on
The game overall.
yeah, the game overall. But another thing I find crazy is like female authority within all organizations, whether it's the WNBA or the NCAA, on the women's collegiate side or professionally. You don't see as many women head coaches, agents, all that kind of stuff. And I just find that weird for a predominantly female, that side of the sport. And so it just, I don't get that.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like, I never thought about it till you just said it. But I think it's like not the norm. Like, I think even outside of athletics, like, it's not the norm just because, one, I think it goes all the way back to like history, like women's rights. Like, I feel like we're still coming up. You know what I'm saying? We're still coming up, and things are still being changed for it to be the norm. So like it's kind of weird at first, but like once people start breaking barriers, like now I don't know if you know like Olivia Tolliver or like Becky, what's her name? Like one of them coaches with she plays for the Mystics, but coaches with Washington on the NBA side.
Sue?
Nah, not Sue. Olivia Tolliver, I think is her name. And then they got Becky, what's her name, who's assistant coach for the Spurs. So I feel like once people start breaking those barriers and people see that, okay, this is, like this is okay. Like it becomes to be the norm. I just think it just hasn't been done just because of the follow-up of like women's rights and stuff and kind of just trickling over. But I think it's coming, honestly. I think it's coming.
Yeah, as we progress in years past and the older generations start to kind of fade out and the newer ones kind of take their place, we're definitely going to see, hopefully we're going to see a lot more changes, because it just baffles me why you have a head coach that's a man, the staffings are men, but you're coaching a women's basketball team. That's just kind of, that doesn't really make any sense. I don't know if it's like a wisdom of the game thing, but like it would make sense to have women across the board, because you don't see much
women on the coaching the men's side.
Coaching the men's side. And if we were to say something about that, then all these red flags of why y'all can't do it will be raised, which really doesn't make any sense, because if we go back into history, and this is a statistic that women are proven to be smarter and more mature quicker than men are. So I don't know. It's just crazy.
It just makes me think of the coach for UConn. I mean, he has this winning streak, has all these national championships and things like that, and he's a male in a female sport. And like you said, I mean, it's just kind of weird to see that all these males that are on staffs and head coaches
Yeah.
for
It makes you think why? Like why? Like why?
yeah,
is
like
that
why did you
what it
decide
is?
like you know what I'm saying, why did you decide that you wanted to coach?
Yeah. I think it's because like y'all were saying, like it's a position of authority, and whether it's inside basketball, outside of basketball, it's not often that you see women in positions of authority in general.
Yeah.
So I
Right.
think that's, like you said, as the generations progress, it'll be more of a normal thing, because in the past it just wasn't normal. So
Yeah, hopefully that's a barrier that's going to be broken. But I mean, you do have is it Tennessee or Texas? She passed.
Pat
was-
Summit,
Yeah,
that was Tennessee.
Yeah.
So like there's you have
She was a
It's less-
legend.
yeah,
that's
she
what
was a
I'm
legend.
saying.
history
Yeah.
shows that
I was gonna say
women
I used
are
to
capable.
I used to love watching Tennessee just because she was the coach, and I mean also Candace Parker went there, but I mean
Yeah.
they were literally a powerhouse when it came to basketball, like women's basketball. So I always enjoyed watching them myself.
Yeah. If you look through the league now, though, you can tell it's definitely becoming a recruiting advantage. Like I know when my
Right.
coach, he was male, he retired at UGA, Andy Landers. They brought in Joni Taylor, who's a women's coach, and recruit-wise, like people like to send their kids with women who their kids can look up to. So
Right.
it's like with women role
Idols.
models. And that's kind of like the wave now, like slowly becoming the wave. Like at Baylor, they got Kim Mulkey. At Notre Dame, they got, what's her name? I can't think of her name. They got a women's coach at Notre Dame. Like that's slowly becoming the wave. And like as coaches are leaving or retiring, like ADs are replacing them with female figures for
Right.
recruiting advantages and things like that. So
I mean,
it's
I
slowly
think
becoming
that's
the wave.
I think that's the right thing to do too. I mean, like you said, just to have someone to look up to, because I think that's how it is in the male sport as well. Like, of course, they're your coach, but at the same time, when it comes to your
Life.
coach, like for me, like I have more than one coach, but like my position, my mic keeps going out. But my position coach, like I actually looked up to him like for life advice, and
Yeah.
if I ever needed anything that you know what I'm saying, I didn't really feel too comfortable talking to my parents about. I knew I could always hit my coach
yeah,
up,
exactly.
and he would be able to guide me in the right direction and things like that. So I think, you know what I'm saying, making those steps to hire more female coaches, that's, you know, steps in the right direction.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
so I know you didn't necessarily face this because you were aware that basketball isn't forever, and so you knew what routes you had to take in order to make your transition from college to where you're at now.
Yeah.
But a lot of people fall in that that mental illness state, being depressed, that they've all their life they've been focused on this sport,
Yeah.
and now it's essentially being taken away from them, kind of, and they find themselves lost and
Yeah.
not knowing what to do, and they become depressed with themselves, and injury could play a part in that.
Yeah.
But sometimes it just couldn't be the right time or whatever the scenario may be, and so
Yeah, like when you're playing your sport since you're 8 years old,
Right.
so when you're 23, that's your identity. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's who you are. Like we identify in our sports. So when we don't have our sports, it's like, okay, well, dang, who am I? What do I like? You know what I'm saying? I'm still figuring out what I like. People see me and they're like, or meet me, they're like, yeah, so what's your hobbies now that you don't play? I'm like, hobbies? What is a hobby? I mean, I like to eat.
right, work out, and,
yeah,
stuff that
yeah.
revolves around that sport.
So I think it's just that we identify with it so long, and then I think people go in that mental stage because one, like people, I mean, there are people who love you when you're playing for you, but majority of the fans love you because of your sport.
Of
So
your
when
abilities. That's exactly.
so when you finish playing, like you
Trust
losing
me.
Instagram followers, people not really, you know what I'm saying? People not really liking your pictures. Like people who normally like want to like talk to you and make conversation when you were playing, they looking past you now. You know what I'm saying?
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah,
You
like
hitting
it's
the nail on the
different.
head.
It's different.
No,
like
I definitely know where you're coming from. I mean, I think I'm a little bit more fresh than you are since you're 2 years removed,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, so I'm just a year removed. So me still going around campus and things like that, it's still
not the same.
it's not the same, but at the same time, they show me a little love. But I definitely, it's definitely not the same. People don't, you know what I'm saying? You're so used to people being like, rah, 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 this, rah, 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 that about your name and all
Yeah.
sorts of things. And then when that changes, like you said, when you've been playing since you were 8. I've been
Yeah.
playing football since 4 or 5
Yeah.
up until 22. So that's literally my identity, and that's all I've ever known.
No,
So
yep.
when that's taken away, like you said, you're looking around like, have some time on
am
my
I? What
hands.
am I?
So what am I gonna do?
What do I like to do?
Yeah.
Like,
So it's for sure
yeah.
tough.
And if you're not like rooted in like like obviously like for Christians, if you're not rooted in Christ and you can identify with Jesus, like it's like you're lost. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, how do I identify? I don't have my sport. I can't identify with that. You know what I'm saying? So people really struggle. Like mentally is hard on some people.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've seen it. I've definitely seen it be really tough on people, and the crazy thing is people are having this problem that are still playing, like just the whole mental state and, you know, just still trying to find their identity. Just because they identify with their specific sport, you know what I'm saying, that doesn't necessarily mean that they know who they are as a person or exactly know what they like.
Yeah.
Because they're still doing the same thing they've been doing their whole life. But, you know what I'm saying, it's at a different stage, at a different level, especially when you're at the highest level. That's when you really struggle because, I mean, when, you know, you're up, we both know when you're up, you're up.
Yeah,
but when you're down, but when you're down, things are completely different.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't really know what you're going through because they just expect you to go out there and perform.
Yep.
But like when you're at the bottom, you know what I'm saying, you're still trying to go out there and perform. People don't really know what's going on behind closed doors. Like if you're really struggling, and you know what I'm saying, a lot of people don't really care to find that out.
I was about to say they don't care.
They don't really care. So that's when people are really hurting the worst. Like I know for me, like I have certain people that I can go to, you know what I'm saying, when things weren't going so well for me. I know I had my parents and then close friends that I could talk to about stuff, but sometimes it's still hard because you're still trying to keep up that wall and that barrier because as an athlete, you know, you have that, oh, I'm so tough.
Yeah,
like I don't have you don't have those, you know, emotions. Like those emotions are so hidden. But
yeah, that's real.
It's tough. It's tough out here for athletes, and a lot of people don't realize it.
It's
but
real.
That struggle can get real when things aren't going so well.
Because you got to think about it. Like technically, like we're a product. Like people are paying to come see us. We are a product. Yeah, we're people, but
we not gonna get into it today.
It's a business. We are a product.
We not gonna get into it today.
Product. Yeah. That's exactly. And
that's another topic for another time.
For another day.
That's
for another
real.
day.
I hope y'all touch on that one. That one's real.
No,
yeah,
that's crazy that you had said that about, you know, when you're up, you're up. That's real because when the Kaepernick situation happened, or just any controversial situation.
Cap took the 49ers to the Super Bowl.
And now won't nobody pick them up.
Right.
Look, we not gonna get it. I'm not gonna look. Don't get me started. Don't get me started. I'm not gonna get into it today.
But I'm
not gonna get into it.
Like any situation like that, if the public opinion is different than yours, you're automatically shot down, no matter who you are. Oh, I liked you when you just played football and didn't talk. I liked you when you just did this, and this. Well, you know, we're all human. Just because my abilities are different from yours, you know, doesn't mean that I just shouldn't have a voice. Just because you like the way I run into the end zone and stuff like that, doesn't mean that I shouldn't be able to speak on things that ultimately affect me. You know, the Colin Kaepernick situation, we're all black, and so he was kneeling because he felt like there were a lot of racial injustices. Yeah. And so, you know, I don't know who could be against that because it's happening all in our face. We see it every day on the media. So being that he's in support of that, people were saying, oh, he's disrespecting the country, disrespecting the flag, all this nonsense to just feed their egos to make them feel like they were doing better than what he was doing. Yeah. By not talking on it and just letting it happen, maybe letting it die down. But when you shine light and touch those points where people are like, well, this is a touchy subject, you know, and I can have a voice in this, but you know, I choose not to. Yeah. Because, you know, it doesn't affect me personally.
Yeah. Or they're just scared like of the repercussions, like, you know what I'm saying? Like they scared that they'll get cut, or they're scared that like they'll lose pay. But like even on the college level, like, you know, there's certain things that we can't like post or say.
I was just about to ask you, like, have you ever had to hold back from posting anything on social media or saying anything?
You're you, but like really the school
you have to wear a mask.
Yes. The school owns your identity, which goes back to the fair pay. Like when you play for a school, like in a sense, they own your identity. Like whatever you do reflects on the school. So it's like you can't post things that normal people like don't think twice about posting. Like if it's something racially conflicting going on, like you can't just tweet about it or it's a whole ordeal. You know what I'm saying? Like when the whole Kaepernick thing happened, like ADs had to like sit and talk to their coaching staff and everybody had to be one on chord. Like what can our players do? What can't they do? How will our boosters react? How will the president of the school, how will the community look at us? You know what I'm saying? So it's like you're not your own person, which goes back to the fair pay. Like I'm giving up identity. I'm giving up voice. I'm giving up time. I'm giving up sweat. I'm giving up future like opportunity. Yeah, but I can't get paid. I can't get no money. But that's another topic for another time. Like y'all said,
you're selling my jersey for
man.
With my name on it.
It's so much crazy stuff going on. I mean, we could literally sit here and talk
for sure
all day about so much stuff that a lot of people don't really take into account or really think about when it comes to athletes. Like
they can't do.
It's a lot of things out there that you have to put a mask on, you have to fake, you have to smile about, act like everything's okay, but really deep down inside, you're like, dang, I really want to say something.
Yeah.
But what's going to happen if I say something?
Exactly.
Like, not only, you know what I'm saying, you're still trying to build your personal brand, but you're also trying to carry the brand of the school. And you're not trying to make the school look bad. You're not trying to make your personal brand look bad.
But
yeah, I definitely agree. But, I think there's some times where you want to reach out on the limb and, do something that, might be kind of controversial and,
especially being a lot of us in athletics are African Americans and there's a lot of injustices going on right now. It's like I can't really speak out,
And I think everyone just tries to use their platform. Now, I think there are certain ways that you can use your platform in the wrong way, but I also think there are certain ways you can use your platform in the right way. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of times athletes are trying their best to use their platform in the right way to, make certain things, come to light that, you normally wouldn't hear from an athlete. But sometimes it's just a tough subject to touch on because, what I'm saying, you have people out there that you care for, people that care for you, and you're not really trying to hurt anybody's feelings or make it seem like you're a certain way that you're really not. You're just trying to bring light to a situation that, what I'm saying, a lot of people don't really want to touch on or really want to talk about.
Yeah, and then it goes back to what we said about, like, your time there. You're there for 4 years, and when you're there, you're a superstar. You're all world. Everybody loves you, and that's the time that you have your platform. So it's like, well, 4 years from now, I might not have this same platform to make the impact off of what I can say. You know what I'm saying? So it's just tough. It's tough.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
But like with that, it was because there's a lot of positives and negatives in regards to social media.
Mm-hmm.
You could use it as a positive way and use the platform, and it's definitely turned into another avenue of ultimately making money.
Yeah.
But at the same time, once it's out there, whatever it may be, it could also diminish you, depending on who sees it. And,
or what it is.
Yeah, like you had that instance not too long ago when that mass shooting happened. You spoke out about it. You weren't attacking, anyone personally, so to say, but you were just saying that, it's sad that these are things that we're going through. And people are DMing you and messaging you saying, "Oh, I liked you better when you just ran the football."
Yeah, I think sometimes it just kind of sucks.
People we grew up with, like from.
I think it just sucks sometimes when what I'm saying, you're trying to, like right now, my platform is still, what I'm saying, I still sort of have a voice. Like I'm still like I said, I'm
You're
only
still a little fresh.
Yeah, I'm only a year removed, so I feel like what I'm saying, I'm still trying to use my platform in a positive way. So some like for me personally, my mom's always talked about my social media. Make sure you don't post this, don't post that. And now that I'm not under the NCAA or what I'm saying, technically under Georgia Tech, I feel like I have a little bit more freedom now. I still do watch what I post because
you just have to.
I'm still trying to protect my brand. But at the same time, there's some things out there that, kind of irk me that I'm like, okay, I want to bring this to light. Let me, not necessarily saying that every time I post something, am I trying to start an argument with you? Mm-hmm. But also sometimes I like to see where other people are coming from because everyone has a different background. Everyone's a different race.
Different experiences.
Exactly. So sometimes I'm not posting stuff because I'm like, okay, I want to be hateful and bring something up.
I just want to start some stuff.
Exactly.
Let's pop it off.
And that's not why.
That's what followers and stuff think for some reason.
I want to bring things to light, and I also want to see what other people are thinking because, of course, me and you, we we would go through something completely different. Just like me and someone that follows me on social media, like we might have two different backgrounds, two different circumstances.
Yeah.
So, you know, I've talked to people on social media when it comes to controversial things, and they tell me their opinion. I tell them mine. We agree to disagree if that's the case. And then we just keep it pushing. Like, I learned some things about, you know what I'm saying, maybe something you've gone through or things that, you know what I'm saying, you see are happening. And then I share things from my point of view. Yeah. And now we're meeting in the middle.
Understand on why I feel this
it's
way.
About
and now we're meeting in the middle, and there's no more bumping heads. Like, you don't have to be mad because I'm posting about something. Now you understand where I'm coming from. So I think that's, you know what I'm saying, that's a subject for another day, like you said. But I
hope y'all writing these topics down because they all coming up.
I just think there are certain things that you want to, as an athlete, trying to use like LeBron James is literally the GOAT for everything he's trying to do and everything he stands for.
Yeah,
like I respect what he's doing completely because he's not letting anyone from the outside sway the way he thinks or, you know, the things that you're doing. Like Colin Kaepernick, he didn't let anyone from the outside, you know, change his mind on how he was going to go about things. And you know what I'm saying?
He risked it all, for sure.
Is there a better way to do things? I think so. But at his time, he probably thought that was the best way to do things by, you know, kneeling during the national anthem. Now, what that stood for, I think a lot of people got that mixed up, what caused a lot of controversial.
Which goes back to understanding,
topics.
Not really.
Yeah, so you really have to understand where people are coming from. But you know, I'm gonna get off that topic because I can literally I can literally sit here and talk about it all day. But
yeah, for sure. Y'all talking about some real stuff though.
I mean, you got
if y'all listening, stay tuned for the upcoming topics because they finna talk about some good stuff.
No, that's definitely one of the reasons why we wanted to start this. Just because we can kind of give people that come on, you know, a voice. That's why we kind of focused it around athletes, around the collegiate level at the moment. So we can kind of give them a voice on why they feel the way they feel within the industry of sports and school and entertainment collectively as a whole. Because there's, you know, not everybody is at the level of LeBron James where you can do that.
That's very true.
Range. I was thinking that, but you was going too far. I didn't want to take you too far because that would have been a whole nother spin-off.
Right, because what he's doing is ultimately great, but you know when you're LeBron James,
you got the free range.
Nobody can tell you anything, but like that's just what we see.
Like a rookie couldn't come out and do the same thing.
Exactly. Yes, he definitely couldn't. Yeah. So that's great that LeBron is doing that. But like what also things that we might not see. You know, he's still somewhat under Nike. You know, he is Nike, but there's definitely some top level hierarchy there that's, you know, kind of pulling some
Nike.
type
Nike
of strings.
need him.
That's true. That's,
talk to me.
That's very
say it
true.
louder for the people in the back.
That's very true, and I'm glad that he's taking advantage of that.
Jay-Z said, "I don't need the Super Bowl. They need me." That's what Jay-Z said. That's the same
thing. I'm interested to see what Jay-Z is going to bring to the table. I know him and Diddy were talking about, and Rick Ross were talking about trying to be NFL owners, and I would like to see, you know, a black NFL
That'd be
owner.
Interesting.
That'll be good.
That's a game changer.
Right. You know, but I was watching this video the other day, and it reminded me when you had said, you know, that you're a product. It's all like the business and all is so systematically structured to make you be a product. Like I feel like ultimately that's what Antonio Brown, that was the message he was trying to convey, but he just did it
the wrong way.
The wrong way. All the
wrong way.
And all these
you can't do it that way.
He should have shined light on, okay, why can't I do this? But Robert Kraft, the owner of the Patriots, can blatantly come out and say that he's paying women to give him oral sex before the Super Bowl and not get any repercussions. That was all
system. Over social media.
Ooh, I know how to use it.
Yeah, and people were, you know, praising for like they do with Trump with the effer right in the.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Stay on the right lane, big fella. Big fella. You swerving off. Stay on the right lane.
Wild.
But it's just crazy how, you know, some people can say and do things that
depending on where you sit in the hierarchy.
That others can't. But the ones that can't are the ones bringing
The
that
product.
hierarchy, that revenue.
Yeah.
So it's just it's so twisted, but that's
Yeah.
that can go on for
Yeah, we can
hours
talk
and
about
hours.
it all day.
Yeah. Like that goes back to what we talked about with the Fair Pay Act. Like, I'm in corporate America now, and they all know that I played basketball, and they love the athletes and stuff. So my boss came over to me. He was like, "What do you think about like the Fair Pay Act in Cali and all this stuff, and how you think it's gonna play out?" And we talked about it some, and I was just saying like, well, ultimately, like, they probably won't be able to compete for a championship because it's an unfair advantage. So I think it's going to counteract itself, and like schools are going to choose not to participate in the act and pay anybody because if we can't compete for a championship, why are we playing?
right.
You know what I'm saying? So then he was like, you know what they should do? And then I was like, yeah, it's kind of tricky too because you know how nasty the world is and it'll be hard to regulate, but like they're onto the right thing. And he was like, you know what they should do? They should do a profit share. He was like, because y'all are products, like they're making so much money off of y'all. Like,
Right.
what do they make? 14 billion? The NCAA makes 14 billion of revenue a year. I think, fact check that, but I think so. And he was like, they should do profit sharing. So like, you know how corporate companies have profit sharing where the profits that the company makes, they put it into like a retirement or like some type of separate account that you can't reach until you graduate. So like they put the profit sharing for the athletes, set up these accounts, put the profit sharing in those accounts, and then the players can't touch it. So that keeps from all like the dirty, nasty, gritty things going on while you're playing. But when you graduate, you're compensated for it. You have that money.
That would
there.
actually be really smooth.
That's
Like,
what I was like, man. I looked, I was like,
I was about to say, dang, if I graduated and I had something like that to just
to
get
get
me on my
started
feet
for
and
a
get,
while, yeah.
I would have been good to go.
Yeah.
But what was that? I saw a lot of people posting on social media. Jordan posted it. He took a picture of a check and it said,
Oh, the NCAA,
Yeah.
they did something. It was something about
What is that?
It might have lapsed out for you.
Yeah, it was something about the cost of attendance or something because like before I got to school, there wasn't like any cost of attendance, which is like
Yeah.
extra money for you to buy food, clothes.
to you to
I mean,
live.
Yeah, I
You
got
don't
the
have
check
time to
because
get
I
a
was here
job.
before you, so I got the check. So
Yeah,
it's basically about the Shabazz Napier. You remember that? How basically he was at UConn and how like they had videos of him and he was like eating like jelly sandwiches and stuff for dinner because like when he got out of practice, like dining halls were closed and he didn't have money to like go and like just
Right.
eat
You don't have
and
time to get a
stuff.
job or anything.
Yeah, to make money. So that's when they started putting into effect the cost of attendance checks
And it
that we get.
literally got in as soon as I got to college.
Yeah.
So I was like
I just got
the
mine
front
the other
runner,
day.
the front runner of it. So
Yeah.
I didn't really even.
So that's a little bit different. I think now, like in terms of, you know, like the cost of attendance check, like that was you weren't there before. That was a game changer. So that's why I think now they're doing the right things, but now it's still the issue of we're products and you're making all this money off of us, but we don't see any of it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like we see bits and pieces of it, but like ultimately, like really we're being exploited. You know what I'm saying? So the cost of attendance check solved the issue of like, okay, we don't have money to buy toilet paper. Okay, now we got money to buy toilet paper, buy meals, but like we're still a product being exploited. Like, where is our compensation?
Right. And still not. being
That's where
fully
I think the
compensated.
profit share thing comes into play. And it'll be really
That's
good.
definitely a great idea.
NCAA,
never
if
thought
y'all
about that.
listening, we are marketing this idea.
If y'all take it, we would like our compensation as well.
We would like our credit.
No, but we definitely appreciate you for coming on, taking the time, and
this is fun.
just giving your views and your different perceptions on things within the world of sports. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
I hope y'all touch on them topics. I'll be listening.
definitely will, man.
we might have to bring you back on for
Yeah,
it.
we definitely
yeah.
appreciate you coming on and giving us some insight on some things that I personally didn't know, and I know some of our viewers definitely won't know as well.